Welcome back to another episode of Comic Dudes with Attitudes. This is a special episode. I feel like I say that a lot. We got a lot of. Maybe we gotta stop calling episodes special. Maybe I'm gonna kill the magic. This one truly is special, though. We're gonna talk Black History Month. It's a very important month. Obviously, for those that watch on YouTube, you know that the co-host of this fine program is a black man, my best friend Matt. So I'm not gonna speak over him. I'm just gonna turn it over to him and let him guide me through this conversation.
Matt Blackman. Nah, Dave, I appreciate it.
Say that.
It's just like it's good how it sounded. So obviously, me and Dave, we have I think a fantastic relationship. And when he approached me with this topic, I know that I sometimes come off as like the curmudgeon-y guy, and I'm like, representation, like, to me isn't the biggest deal in the world sometimes, and I know I come off that way, but like, it is important. Representation is important. My sticking points normally are just when representation is done wrong, and I think it's pandering. But I mean, being a black man in this country is something that's, I think it's a good thing, but there's definitely times where it has some negative connotations as well too. But seeing characters represented in properties that I really enjoy, since being like a young kid up until now, that representation is important. And these, I just want to talk about some characters that are important to me and some that are probably important to Dave as well too. I'm sure like we're gonna have a lot of crossover, but I just want to talk about some people that are important to me. I didn't want me and Dave, when we were framing this discussion, I was like, I don't really want this to be a top five, and it's not really a ranked top five, but I kind of did have like 5 characters that were important. So
I would like to say, I'm sorry to interrupt.
Yeah, you're good, man.
It's funny you say something like there might be overlap. Like I have shown up with I don't have a list because you told me we weren't making one. So it would be impossible for us to overlap. I could agree with some things that you have.
Yes,
I don't have a list, man.
I think
I wasn't prepared.
I think, and I'm going to need you to chime in on some, because there might be some gaps on some of the characters. So I'm going to start like from just like the beginning. When I was a very young kid, I saw the film Star Wars at a very young age, and I was captivated like immediately by Star Wars. I used to draw like the Rebel insignia on my wall. Like I was super into those movies. I've seen them, probably hundreds of times, at least Empire and Return of the Jedi. I mean, I've seen them a lot. And one of the characters in Empire Strikes Back, I think most Star Wars fans know as Lando Calrissian. His portrayal in The Empire Strikes Back, he is a swashbuckling, debonair, man, very well spoken. But ultimately in that film, he ends up kind of betraying his friend and selling him out to the Empire.
Yeah, not the greatest dude, man.
Not the greatest dude in a vacuum if you only saw Empire Strikes Back. He's, he oversees Cloud City and Bespin, and ultimately has to turn his friend over, Han. They're going to try to lure Luke to Bespin. Lando does have an arc, though, that he ultimately does end up on the good side, and you do learn that he had to turn Han over because otherwise he was going to lose the entire city. So like he kind of was in this leadership role, like I got to sell my best friend out. But in the end, he gets on the side of the Angels. They rescue Han. It's, happily ever after. And I think he becomes like a general or whatever. He's in the main spaceship battle there, and they blow up the second Death Star, and he's a huge part and a hero in that. I just thought he was cool. I love how he calls Han Han. He always called him Han, old buddy. But loved Lando Calrissian. I might be in the minority here. Black History Month. I might be in the minority here. Definitely am. But the movie Solo, I actually really like.
Okay, I was going to ask how we felt about the Childish Gambino version.
I don't like a lot of the Disney stuff. I really did like Solo. There's a couple things I didn't like, but like I think Welcome to the Minority, Dave. Childish Gambino or Donald Glover playing Lando Calrissian, dude, like I loved it. I thought it was great.
Yeah,
He
I thought so
even
too.
sounded like you could tell he studied the character, and you could tell he
Donald Glover's a
studied.
pretty good actor.
Oh, absolutely. You could tell he studied Billy D. Williams' mannerisms and how he presented himself. And I love, like, I have some variant covers of, you know, Donald Glover's portrayal of Lando. I actually do have a Billy D. Williams uh, cover of Lando as well, too. So Lando Calrissian, that's like my OG.
All right,
Um,
all right.
so that's kind of like a little off the wall one. Um, when I was making my initial list as well, too, I just had a lot of like males on it, like black males. But another really important character I think we can both get down with is Storm from the X-Men. Storm is badass as hell. I know her with the white suit from the 90s X-Men cartoon. That was like my first,
That's my
you
favorite
know,
too.
the first introduction was Storm with the white hair. And but like when I started really reading a lot of the older source material in comics, I mean, Storm has a big part. You start to learn a lot more about Storm, her origins, that she's like a thief from Africa, and I didn't know she was like claustrophobic. I missed that, but she's claustrophobic. I know I have not read a lot of the like '90s era X-Men comics, but I mean, I know I love Cyclops. He's like my favorite X-Men. But Storm beat the shit out of him for leadership of the team, and she was depowered and had no powers, and still, took down Cyclops. So just like a badass female character, portrayed by Halle Berry in the movies. Um, I know we both know her from the X-Men arcade game as well too. Different costume, but you got something to say about those X-Men movies? Let it
I
out.
don't love those movies,
I
man.
know you don't.
I don't
I'm
love
just saying.
and
I'm just
in the
saying.
moment they were great, but
They
boy, they
were.
age poorly. And the contemporary movies they've made are just bad.
I
Nope.
they're not movies I actively engage in. Like if they're on TV, I'm like, oh, X-Men's on. Like I'll watch it, but
First
um,
Class,
I love those.
passable,
Yes.
passable.
Okay.
Days of the Future Past, good.
Okay.
Everything since then, objectively bad.
Dude, I don't even think so. Okay, I don't even think we're on like a different page. I think we're on the same page.
Okay, good.
Like I thought First Class was fine. Days of Future Past is good, and the other ones are Apocalypse. Oof. Like those movies are
Unwatchable.
bad, bad. Like I didn't even watch that Dark Phoenix one.
Neither did
Couldn't
I.
do it.
After
Couldn't do it.
Apocalypse, couldn't bring myself to do it. We're getting way off course though. Sorry.
But no, 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 no.
Bring it back.
We're
Bring it
talking
back
about
to
the
Storm.
X-Men. But Storm, Storm, super important female, strong black female, and uh also is tied in with T'Challa. I didn't know that until like, recently reading
No, you
comics.
didn't.
Like, no,
Really?
not like this month or whatever, but like when I first started reading comics, I didn't know that in the 2000s. But I'm not saying like this year. I've known
No, I
for
know, but
years
like,
now. No, I
okay.
didn't. I didn't know that, and I didn't read that run,
But
so I
wasn't
didn't really
that
know.
was happening while you were reading comics? I thought.
I don't think I
Maybe
was really
not.
reading a whole
I don't
lot.
remember when.
Yeah, I don't know if I was reading. That was in. I
Let's look.
believe some of that was in the Reginald Hudlin run of Black Panther, which I didn't really read that much.
Yeah, I mean, she did kind of leave the X-Men to go be in a Black Panther comic for
Yeah,
a while because she lived in Wakanda.
yeah.
Um,
Like I didn't really read a lot of that era. But yeah,
I thought that it was around the time when you were
prob
like getting into comics, and I just felt like here we go.
yeah. I need to know.
Oh my God, so many words. Get to the freaking point. You get paid by the word? Probably they probably do get paid by the
Probably
word.
do.
Uh let's see. They decided to get married in 2006. T'Challa
Okay.
proposed. And Black Panther Volume 4, number 14 and 15.
Okay. Yeah, I feel like that's that Reginald Hudlin run that I didn't really read.
Yeah,
But
but
I
like
mean,
they
I knew
were
she was.
married during like so much stuff that you were reading. It's hard to imagine you didn't notice that they were married.
I got bad memory, Dave. I forget
Clearly.
things. I forget things from time to time.
Clearly. It's okay. What Google's for, to
That is
remind
what
us.
Google's for. But all right. My next character. This is where I might need some feedback from my homie. Um, I know that some corners of the internet, and I remember when this character, kind of came out. Uh, the word token was thrown around a lot about this character. Um,
Where are we
I
going?
prefer I prefer the term derivative more than token,
Derivative's
but
not a kind word.
I know it is he is a derivative in my
Okay.
opinion,
All right.
but the character I'm talking about is Miles
I
Morales.
knew it. I knew this was Miles slander.
Miles Morales, in my opinion, is a derivative of Spider-Man. With that said, and the reasons that Miles Morales was created, I don't necessarily disagree with why Bendis created the character. We had a black president at the time. His children are mixed. He wanted them to be represented. And that was why they created Miles Morales. I also was not offended by Miles because Miles was also in the Ultimate Universe as well too,
Yeah.
doing his own thing.
Yeah.
So
That's
he
fair.
was separate from Spider-Man. So like there was like some of my old white comic buddies, like they were losing their mind about him. Like, dude, he's in a completely different universe. Like, what do
I
you
don't know how
care?
you can lose your mind about that, to be honest.
Well,
I mean,
Dave, you're a
but
very progressive. Yeah,
I've always
I
struggled
get
with
it.
people that can't
Yes,
wrap their heads around something not being for them.
yes. And I would get it. I would get it a little bit more if they killed off Peter Parker just to get a black Spider-Man. I mean, we're all on different spectrums. Some people
Isn't that
don't
kind of what they
care,
did though? Like,
but it's the Ultimate Universe. So like,
yeah,
I'm
but
less
it's
offended by it. I'm less
okay.
offended by it because
Okay.
it's not the main continuity.
But you were a little offended.
I was a little offended, but
Okay.
not.
All right.
But
We've
yeah,
talked about Miles before a lot actually,
this
not
is a
just
good
on the
discussion.
podcast, but like in general.
Yeah,
And I guess I didn't ever really know that you were like any type of anti Miles until now.
I am not
I know you're not
anti-Miles.
anti, but like you're not fully on board. Like I
I,
was
yeah, you were
fully
on
on
board.
board.
I was not like on board right away. I remember I visited a friend and we went to a very small comic book convention, and I spent way more money than I needed to at the time on some comic books that ended up sitting in a box in the basement. And I got a reprint of Ultimate Fallout 4, and I have pictures and documents of me reading that comic book and me holding my head in disbelief. And then later we went and got Chubby's ice cream, and I was all smiles and I was happy. Um, but yeah, like at first, I just didn't know where they were kind of going with Miles. But I feel like that first series of Miles Morales comics were like fantastic. And they were different from Peter Parker. I loved that his uncle was, spoilers, a supervillain. His parents were there. His parents
Not a
raised him.
spoiler. Most people have
Oh,
seen Into the
yeah,
Spider-Verse
true.
and know
Uh
who the Prowler is.
yeah, so you got, Uncle Aaron, his dad, very poorly named Jefferson Davis, who was the leader of the Confederacy, for those who don't know that.
Ooh, I
Yeah,
actually
yep,
didn't really connect the
yep,
dots on that until right now.
yep. So his dad's name's Jefferson Davis, the leader of the Confederacy. His mom's name's Rio, I think. Um, but he was raised by like his family. His dad was a cop. It was in Brooklyn. Like he was hit. I liked.
He
What's
was
up?
raised by his family. Like that's what? Of course he was.
The nuclear family's dying. I
I
don't
mean,
know.
I think
Whatever.
it would be weirder to say he wasn't raised by his family. That would be an abnormal thing worth calling out.
I guess.
Pointing out someone's raised by I assumed people are raised by their families unless you tell me otherwise.
Yeah,
It
but
just makes me smile sometimes your choice of of details
hey, I'm
to
here
point
for
out.
I'm here for whatever. So I like that he was like even younger than Peter Parker at age, because like I don't know when I
Miles
read
was like
like
14 or 15.
how old was Peter Parker? Was he like
He was in
that?
high school.
I mean, I guess just the portrayal in the drawings, just like from
Maybe
1960,
you know
like
what?
he looks like
Honestly,
very stuffy.
I
Miles looked
think
like was way younger. He was like
I think he
13. I
might have
feel
been
like he's
12. I think he might have
yeah,
been
like he
12
was like 12
when
or
he got the
13.
powers.
That's just at least how I took him. how he was drawn. He just seemed like a younger character as well too. And I liked, I did like the diversity of that comic. I liked his best friend Genki was not a white kid. Like it was just different. And I have not played the video games, but what I have played of Miles Morales and seen him in the PS5 games, there's that diversity in New York City, and it feels like New York City would with that diversity, and I think that's cool.
He's in Brooklyn too, which is a
Yeah, he's
little
in
bit more
Brooklyn.
diverse than
Yeah, and I think that's
other
just like
parts.
really, I think that's super cool.
Also,
And
according to Google, Miles got his powers when he was 13.
okay, so that's yeah, he was younger,
So we managed to
and
say every age around that, but the right one.
uh,
But we were
we're,
circling the drain.
we're getting close. We're getting close. We're getting close. Battleship B9 or whatever.
We ain't sinking nothing, but we did get pretty close.
That's right. But obviously into the Spider-Verse, like we were kind of like OGs reading Miles from the comics, so like we knew about him, but obviously Into the Spider-Verse blew up, and
Yes.
I I mean, I think that is probably the best Spider-Man movie. I really enjoyed whatever the newest one was. I really did enjoy that movie.
No Way Home.
No Way Home, I thought was really good. I still listen to that Sunflower song from that beginning scene of the Miles
Me
Morales
too.
movie. Like, I really enjoyed that.
I mean, I genuinely like Post Malone, so I listened to
Yeah,
like a
makes
lot of
sense.
his songs. But that song from Into the Spider Verse is in there too.
I just remember you were on it, and Sheridan and Sean were like, man, you need to watch this movie. Like, this is like a really good movie. And I put it
Yep.
off for years and years and years. And when I finally watched it, like I was blown away. And like a lot of things don't normally live up to the hype. That lived up to the hype and exceeded the hype.
Yep. I don't know. I don't think it's my favorite. I think No Way Home edges it out.
Well, you're not black.
Okay.
No, I'm just kidding.
You've been waiting to say that during this episode. I know you planned this. You're just waiting for the right opportunity.
There's just a bunch of this is that Rogue Sun 7. There's just traps everywhere.
Yep.
No.
It's fine. What am I gonna do? It's February.
Gotta give you my month, bro.
I'm gonna just take it.
Take it.
You get the W.
But what are your thoughts on Miles? I know you like Miles.
I love Miles. I love
Yeah,
Miles.
you love
I think
Miles.
from a inclusion perspective, I think the fact that he is sort of diversity done right. It's not pandering like you have said multiple times, and you know, uh, I think some people are protective of iconic characters. The Iron Man, Superman, Batman, Captain America, Spider-Man, the characters that everyone knows.
Yeah.
So it was a very bold and risky move to do that, and I think it happened because it was in the Ultimate Universe. It wouldn't have happened otherwise. There's no way they're doing that in the standard Marvel Universe, even though it's standard Marvel Universe now. I think that it's still, Marvel did it in a safer way, but
When we have the Ultimate and Marvel 616 combined together, we have run out of ideas. I remember that quote. I think it was Bendis, but don't quote me. Someone said that from Marvel side, and that's where we're at. So,
we sure are.
All right, my next guy. If you're a regular listener and you tuned in last episode, I talked a little bit about one of my childhood role models as a very, very young
Here it comes.
kid.
I know this one. I know this one already.
It's Zach, dude. It's Zach, the Black Power Ranger, man.
Of course it is.
Like, that was the first guy, I guess, like, I'm trying to, like, I have Lando, but Zach was like a young teenager who was hip. He did like the karate, like I don't know if it's called Jeet Kune Do or like what. It was just like this jazzy like fighting style. He had swagger, dude. He had the dress. He was funny. Like every black kid that I knew wanted to be Zach. Like we all love Zach. I wanted the Black Power Ranger figure so bad. And when my dad brought me Jason, who's also awesome. I like the leadership character. I was a little sad. I was like, dude, I don't think I was like a spoiled kid either. Like I was like, no, and like threw the toy or anything, but like I was like a little sad because I really wanted
I
Zach.
remember you've told this story before
Yeah.
on the podcast.
Did I tell you about like when we went to meet the Power Rangers? Did I have to say
Yep.
that in Lima, Ohio, and it was just
And
a
you
man
were not convinced those were real Power
the
Rangers.
bait and switch. It was not.
Yeah.
It was not the real Power Ranger.
That's how it
But
goes.
Zach, man, and I know Dave isn't like the biggest fan of the hokey old Power Ranger series. He's not really
I'd
a fan
never
at
watched
all.
it. Never watched it.
Okay, he never watched it at all. But these comic books, man, like these comic books, Zach's an Omega Ranger now, so he's like out in space. But the original run, it's just like a continuation of that. So I get to every time I read that series, I just get a continuation of that character. I get a continuation of the interpretation that Walter Jones did as Zach. And yeah, I need to meet Walter Jones someday. Just like he's the man. But yeah, Zach is super super important to me. So the last character that of my main characters that I want to talk about, I don't think there has been a more not effective but more powerful portrayal of like a black character in a comic book than I think the shirt I'm wearing, we all know, was Chadwick Boseman playing the Black Panther. The Black Panther. I liked the Black Panther in comics. I remember like one of the first trips when we went to Grove City, and I got like you're like, dude, you need to read Civil War. So I got like the Civil War trade, and then I got the Illuminati trade as well too. And I don't remember exactly what's happening, but the Illuminati's getting together. So it's like Namor, Mr. Fantastic, Tony Stark, Black Bolt, Professor X, and they're all like gathering together. I think they're in Wakanda. They're all gathering together to like, they might not have been in Wakanda, but they were getting together to, they're the major power players of the universe. They were getting together and having like this discussion of like what action they were going to take moving forward in this, like, in the Civil War, pre-Civil War kind of era.
Yep.
And Black Panther is there, or he walks in and he was just like, whatever you're doing, stop, leave this place. And like, dude, that was like, this man just commands authority. And that was like, not like a cruel way, but like I know
what you mean.
In a monarch that cares for his country and will do anything for his country. And he is like a tactician, like a Batman level tactician. Black Batman, like Black Batman, but cooler, and is like a monarch. And that movie, the Black Panther movie, well, Civil War was just fantastic with him in it too, and like all the scenes with him and his father, and seeing that on the big screen. But that Black Panther movie, man, is special. Like that could be just like a standalone movie, and I've just watched it as like a standalone movie. And how that movie blew up and how big it got. My parents don't watch any of it. My dad, he just turned 70. Like, he's not into that Marvel stuff like that. They have the Black Panther and they watch the Black Panther on like a regular basis if it's on TV.
Yeah.
And I have a really special like thing when Black Panther, at the school I was working at before, I was in housing, and at the time we decided to rent out a movie theater in Erie and go up to like Tinseltown there and go see a screening of Black Panther. Dude, the amount of like hype and excitement on those kids. First of all, at our small Catholic school, I didn't know there was that many black kids there in general. I'm just being honest. I didn't know there was that many students of color. And it wasn't just students of color, it was everyone. And just to see everyone that hyped and that excited to go to that movie, it was really special. And I remember like, just like when we were sitting down, I was kind of standing like chaperoning, and like I just took a round at like all these different people, all these different makeups. And like I will not forget that. Like that's how it's supposed to be, and everyone's hyped. I was like, this is like one. It was one of the best atmospheres I've ever had watching a movie. I was like, I
That's
wish I
awesome.
could do this with every movie. And like everyone was pumped. Obviously, my man Killmonger. I mean, like, oh, he's so good. Oh gosh. But the movie was great. I love it. I read the character before, but I'm like even more invested in the character now after that movie.
Me too.
Um,
Me too.
Chadwick Boseman, R.I.P. I mean, we've already talked about
Yeah.
that. Like, just a special tragic situation, but like, I can watch that movie over and over. And I actually like, I'm the one who's pretty fatigued on the Marvel stuff. I actually really like the second Black Panther movie. It's obviously not on the same tier as the first one, but I did enjoy it. I enjoyed it a lot more. I didn't think I was going to like Namor. I really like Namor. So the Black Panther is just an awesome character. So that was my main ones. I do have some like I have a couple honorable mentions if we want to go there. If not, I know
It's
we've
up to you.
talked for about
It's up to you, man.
okay. I haven't Steel. I haven't gave a lot of DC love, so I know
Yep.
Steel is one. Uh Blade. I know you love Blade. One of the Midnight Suns. Obviously,
Hmm.
that movie was big with Wesley Snipes. Like when that movie came out, that was like the first one of the first black superhero movies of that level that I remember. And I remember like once again, family members of mine who knew nothing about comics. And I wasn't like well read at that time, but I was like, I think Blade's a comic book character. Like I could recognize him. But they were like pumped for that movie. Um, on the independent side, Spawn, Al Simmons,
Hmm.
kind of a big deal. And I want to throw one thing out there. One of the most important comic book characters that doesn't get any love, Robbie Robertson, dude. Robbie
Robbie.
Robertson is super important to Spider-Man. Like he's the counterweight to Jameson.
Yep.
He's like the only guy that Jameson will actually listen to. And like he always has Peter's back. I always just like Robbie Robertson, man. Like he was
Me
just
too. That's a
and
good
he
one.
knew
That's a very
right?
obscure, but also like not obscure at all. Once you're like, oh yeah, how did I forget
Yeah.
about Robbie Robertson?
And like he always had Peter's back. And
Hmm.
he's like Robbie knew. Robbie knew he was like you always got like the hint that Robbie knew he was Spider-Man, but like he knew Peter was a good dude and was doing good and he wasn't gonna snitch him out. But Robbie Robertson always liked Robbie, man. So
Me too. So
that's all I got. Thank you for
I
giving me the time to talk a little bit, and
yeah,
I
for sure.
appreciate talking
I
about that
appreciate
stuff.
you sharing and some more personal details of your life. I didn't know some of that
Sure.
stuff, so I was like learning more about you. I think for me, um, comic books specifically uh, started out kind of rocky when you're talking about inclusion, especially the way that
You
anyone
think?
who wasn't white was treated in the
Yeah.
40s, 50s, 60s, even for some of that in the comic books. But to be sitting here in 2023 and there still be so many characters that you didn't even touch
Yeah,
on.
dude.
The Luke
Bishop.
Cages and
Dude, I didn't even put Cage on.
Bishop and John Stewart.
Yep.
And these aren't obscure characters. These are major characters that
Black Lightning.
Luke Cage had 2 seasons of a show on Netflix. Um, there's so many fantastic, relatable characters. Not just if you're black, Hispanic, um, LGBTQIA plus. There are so many things to choose from, and if you start to step away from like Marvel and DC and really immerse yourself in independent comics, there is even more representation. And it's hard for me to say because I'm not someone that's in need of representation, but in the independent spaces, it feels like that representation is a lot more authentic because the creators are also diverse and from varied, races and orientations and belief systems and whatever. And the freedom that you get in independent comics just smashes what you can do at something like Marvel or DC. I have Skyward up behind me. Willa Fowler, main character. She's also black. 15 issues, one of my favorite stories to come out in the last, I don't know, 4 or 5 years. Um, Fantastic comic. Also, I'm pretty sure being made into a show or a movie with Amazon, maybe somebody bought the rights to it. But point being, I love to see more proliferation of diverse characters, diverse backgrounds for creators, the comics, the stories. Give me all of that because I learn more about um, those cultures and those ways of life. And not only that, I learn more about how to be a better ally, which oftentimes just means shutting up and letting someone else speak. The more that I'm exposed to that type of stuff. So I appreciate these types of conversations and I appreciate celebrations of things like this. So I'm glad
No,
you were willing to even have this, be like an episode for us.
I'm definitely willing to have that conversation with you, but like for us to broadcast and put it out there for people to hear, like, and I think you hit it. I think you hit the nail out of the park. Really hit the nail out of the park. Hit the ball. You really hammered that nail home or hit the ball out of the park. I think my frustration really is with a lot of the diversity efforts are with the big two. Like, I just don't think they do it well most of the
I
time.
agree.
I think Miles Morales was done well. I think a character that I personally don't like, I think Kamala Khan was done well. But outside of that, like, I mean, it's just like these rush slapped on, you know, gender swapping, race swapping. Like, that's lazy to me. To
Yeah.
me, I am not a part of the LGBTQ community, but I love Saga because it's written well. Like we're don't see episode issue podcast 1 of this series. We're gonna
My
keep
man's tongue
referencing that.
tied tonight.
No, but like you got me preaching. Like that's where it's at.
Yeah.
Read the series Philadelphia. That's all about black people in Philadelphia and vampires and stuff. Like that's where the good stories are being told, in my opinion.
I agree
So
with you.
I'll shut up. I'll shut up now.
No, you don't have to, man. If you got more to say, keep saying it.
No, my wife's telling me I'm yelling over the TV, so it's fine.
Oh, dude, this is important business.
I'm good. I'm all fired up, so we're
All
good.
right. So I have one more thing on the topic, and then we'll move on. We'll talk some news real quick. I would like to preface this next bit with an apology. But I couldn't miss an opportunity to go after Superman. Have you ever heard of Vathlo Island?
No.
Let me tell you about it. In the 1970s, there were questions being asked around why there are no black Kryptonians. So DC, in their infinite wisdom, tried to explain why you haven't seen any black Kryptonians.
Don't do it. Just don't do it, guys.
The reason why
Oh no.
is that all of the black Kryptonians lived in a place called Vathlo Island. So you never saw them. So DC's masterful attempt at explaining away the lack of diversity on Krypton was that the Kryptonians have segregated all of their black citizens on one island, never to be seen again. Ergo, my takeaway here would be that if Kal-El did not have to leave Krypton because it was blowing up, had he stayed there and been raised on Krypton, Superman, by extension, is a racist. Am I close? Do you think that does my logic check out here? The man is speechless. I feel bad even doing this during Black History Month, but
was it Vathlo Island?
Vathlo Island.
I'm gonna have to do some research on it.
They only mentioned it a handful of times after this very awful ham-fisted attempt at explaining away this lack of diversity, and then it very quickly disappeared from ever being mentioned. Like, you can't find anything about this anymore. Like, it's very hard to find information about Vathlo Island.
How did you even find this? How did you even?
I was doing a little research before the episode.
Okay.
Just doing a little research. I can send you a link.
Please send me. I need to. I need a link of that. I have no comment. I cannot defend DC editorial. That is one of the dumbest decisions I've ever heard. Do not even explain it. It you end up looking more stupid and more racist when you try to explain it. Just keep it moving. It sounds worse. That concept was written by a bunch of white men. Like clearly, it's a
100%.
really bad idea. I would, if I was on staff, I'd say, yeah, we're not going to address that at all. Just let it ride.
But luckily for me, it found its way to my eyes in 2023, the eyes of a Superman hater, and I will jump through hoops. I will make the thinnest of connections possible to find a way to slander Superman, and I'm so glad I got to do it.
You're bald headed like Luther, dude.
You know what? I'm just gonna take it because it's Black History Month. I'm just gonna take. Yep, you're right. I'm gonna take it. Yeah, man.
Can you change your background to green, the lighting?
Yeah, that's what you want. There you go.
And weren't you at one time in real estate? Because that was one of Flex's schemes.
I was, and you know what? Dave Luther's not that far from the truth either.
Oh, this is a golden episode. I'm good on.
All right, man. Let's move on to the news.
Oh my gosh.
It's time for the news from Matt, because Dave doesn't really pay attention to this.
Not comic news has been slow, man. I've been really digging, but it's kind of killing me. But somewhat comics related. Are you watching The Boys? Are you current on The Boys?
Yeah. Sorry, it was a weird.
That's kind of
Well, because I don't know, like we haven't talked much the last couple weeks, but like so my girlfriend started watching The Boys 2 weeks ago, so I wasn't sure if you were asking about like if I told you about that or not, and you're like looking for a checkup on where I'm at if something happened. Like I'm current, she's not.
Got you. And I just saw it was renewed for season 5, and
people they haven't done season 4 yet.
Yeah, they're already. It's confirmed for season 5 already. So there you go.
Big fan of The Boys.
Action for. Yeah, some more Boys action.
You know what else got another season?
Invincible?
The Last of Us.
Oh yeah, I did see that. Was quick. Like episode 3, something 2. They're like, yep. Bring that back.
It's a hit. They said they're going to do the plot of the second game in the second season, and I just don't know how that's going to work. No spoilers, but some crazy stuff happens in the second game, and I don't see how. Like, is it going to be a 2-season show? Like, I don't. Unless they're going to split up the second game into like multiple seasons, I don't see how they're going to do that.
Yeah, maybe.
But you haven't played the second game yet, so you don't know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I need to get on that. So
you really do.
I will. Microsoft actually admitted. I think that us as laymen, we can see this, but they actually admitted through documentation that Game Pass is bad for video game sales. Like it's killing video game sales. It's undercutting sales.
I believe it.
Previously, like Phil Spencer said, oh no, that's not the case. Like Game Pass is doing good. You know, things are being vibrant, and you know, our sales are doing well in addition to Game Pass. But Microsoft said there's been a steady decline in their base game sales the past 12 months with the addition of Game Pass. I think I bring this up because this is a bullet in Sony's potential chamber for them, with them conceding and saying, and this is with they're fighting the battle overseas right now, and I believe this is the the UK Competition and Market Authority. That was in the document. It was like a 277-page document. Them conceding and saying that point gives Sony more ammo in their arsenal to keep shooting at this potential merger with Activision Blizzard, because you know game sales are declining because of Game Pass.
Even though Sony just made their own version of it.
Yeah. They're not day and date though. That's a big thing.
Yeah.
Like,
but if was Microsoft just talking about their first party games?
It just said
all games.
It said base game sales. So I don't
I
I don't know if
can't.
that's their first party or
I,
just
okay. I know some things about how that works that I can't
you're not at liberty to
say in a
discuss. Yeah.
documented format, but
Yeah.
we can talk about it when we're done.
Got you.
I got some insider info on that I can't
Yeah.
put on the record.
I just think that whole day and date with their titles, like if God of War Ragnarok was on PS Plus day one, like are you kidding me? Like
Yeah.
that, yeah, that's a
You know,
different thing.
Microsoft also doesn't have a lot of games coming out. I mean,
They got a couple,
and
but
you
they're
know,
they're
there's
coming.
also it's been what 2 years since the current generation of consoles released, and it's been until very recently that you could even find one. Like they're impossible to get. I have to imagine that some of the slowing in game sales is due to people that have an Xbox One that don't want to buy games because they're saving up for a Series X in the hopes that they find one, or they're just like in a holding pattern because they can't get the new console yet.
Yeah, that could be
But
very well
I don't
true.
want to make excuses because I do think that Game Pass is probably not the best thing for the industry.
I would agree.
Not that I don't like it, I do, but it's bad for things like creativity and competition.
I agree.
Anyway, I don't want to beat this to death, so let's move on.
A Spider-Man noir series. You see this
No.
being developed at Amazon, live action TV series in the works at Amazon. It's going to take place in 1930s New York with a much older Spider-Man. It is not going to be Peter Parker though, which is the original Spider-Man noir. It's going to be some other character. Just the whole Sony thing with having stuff
Yes.
everywhere kind of throws me
I
like it
hate Sony
just
so much when it
yeah it
comes to what they do with
just
Spider-Man,
yeah I just
and they'll
I
never
don't
give it
know.
Yeah.
Yeah, they never will. They never.
I
I
mean,
wouldn't either.
Disney has enough money to literally buy Sony if
Yeah,
they wanted to, but Sony will not accept any amount of money for Spider-Man if they're smart.
yeah. I don't know. What
Well,
Disney?
smart's not the word, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, uh, yeah.
We're
I agree.
doomed.
I was just like, oh, there's just
Not gonna be resolved in our lifetime.
yeah, there's just going to be disjointed Spider-Man everywhere. So
Yep.
get on board for that. And then my last thing, the big game was a couple days ago or whatever. I'm
Well, it
talking
was
about the
yesterday
Super
for
Bowl.
us. We
It's
record on
yesterday for
Mondays,
us.
so by the
Yesterday for
time
us.
everyone else hears or sees this, it'll be a week removed.
But the big game happened. There's always some trailers. Did you
Oh, I
catch
know
any
where
of the
this is going.
trailers? Are you excited for any of the trailers?
I only saw the Flash.
Okay. What did you think?
You know what I thought. I'll
What'd
say
you
it for
think?
everyone else who doesn't know me as well as you do. Trash.
Trat. I think it looks relatively good.
Supergirl's gonna be in it. Did you know that?
I did see that.
Yeah. Michael Keaton Batman.
Yep.
Ben Affleck Batman.
Yep.
So Barry's powers now are to go to different dimensions, not just
Pretty
back in
much.
time.
There's another berry though too. Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Two berries.
Great. Should be fun.
So you're not getting a ticket to see it.
No.
I'm not going to see it either. I think it just whatever. Michael
Unless
Keaton
the
bat.
unless ticket sales are going to the rehabilitation and therapeutic efforts for Ezra Miller, not interested in paying money to see it. I'll wait
I
for HBO Max.
we all have our hills that we're going to die on and our certain things, and that was kind of where I crossed the line with some of his behavior. I was just like, Michael
Hey,
Keaton Batman, dude. That was like the first. That was literally the first movie I saw in theaters, like that my dad took me and probably put me on this destructive rabbit hole that I am in with video games and nerd culture. But like,
I'm glad it
I'm not.
happened.
I'm not me. Me too. I'm not falling for the bait, man. Like, I'm not doing it.
Yeah.
I'll see it on HBO Max if it's really that good. I have no desire to go to the theater and see that.
What was the
Honestly,
other trailer that I missed?
there was that one. There
Was it
was
early in the game?
Flash was early. There was a Fast and Furious one. I
I
want to
saw
say
Flash, but I mean, was
there's
this other one you're talking about earlier than Flash? Because if you remember, I missed part of the
oh
first quarter because somebody didn't
let's
bother
talk
to
about.
correct me when
I
we
don't
had a
know.
quick conversation. And that this person I talked to was just like, "F you, have fun not watching the game." Confused and in a different time zone.
That must be the same person who's giving you insider information about Game Pass, because it wasn't,
Must be. Couldn't be you. You would
wasn't
never
me.
do me like that.
I would never do that. I'm excited for Creed 3. That looks good.
You know
Jonathan,
what? I've never seen any of those.
I
I'm not a
haven't.
big Rocky guy. You know the only
Creed,
Rocky movie that I've seen more than
what's
once that I actually really liked?
what?
Rocky 4, where he's beating that white
Of
dude up in the
course.
street.
Well, so I haven't seen Rocky 2, which no, beating the white dude up in the streets 5. That's Rocky
Is it
5.
5?
Yeah, Rocky 4 is when he's fighting the Russian. Drago. Trust me. Trust
Okay.
me.
No, I believe
I'm like
you. I just didn't know.
Rocky
All I
5
know,
is.
Tommy Gunn, man.
Yeah, I was
The
gonna say
dude had
Tommy Gunn.
AIDS.
Yep, Tommy Gunn. That's
Not in the
Rocky
movie, but
5.
in real life.
That's Rocky 5.
Not that it's a laughing matter. It's just
It's not,
fact.
but it's just how you said it.
I know it's my delivery. I'm sorry.
So matter of
My
fact.
my delivery makes you look like an asshole. I'm sorry. I understand.
No, but okay. But you love Michael. You like Michael B. Jordan too.
I do. You would think that I've seen the Creed movie. You know, see,
You
there's.
you
I don't
should
want to
watch
get
the
too.
first one.
I don't want to get too like too personal, but like when the first Creed came out, a lot of movies came out between the years of 2011 and 2020
I
that
understand.
I never got to see because I was in a relationship with someone that didn't like going to see movies. So I missed a lot of stuff. Creed was one of those things I missed.
Dude, Creed is really good too. Like
I've heard that
I
from
love
so many people.
I love all the Rocky movies and stuff, but like Creed is real good.
Yeah.
But
So I'm told. I don't know when, but someday.
you should, yeah, you should. I think you would like that. Just your personality, I think you would really dig it.
And it's like legit, like it's the son of Apollo Creed in the Rocky universe of movies. Like, yeah, I know. I should probably.
It's really
I should
good.
probably watch it.
But there's also like this 65. It's like Adam Driver, like a sci-fi movie. It looked pretty sweet. It's something new, so I was like, I'll check that out. Like, watch that in IMAX. That's something I'd see. But that's pretty much it.
I was not super focused on the Super Bowl commercials or the game itself, for that matter.
Yeah, me neither.
This wasn't a season that I was super engaged.
So. All right, that's all I had.
Okay. So for what we're reading and what we're playing, I don't have a whole lot to talk about, so I'm just going to get mine out of the way first.
Sounds good.
I've been playing Apex Legends and Elden Ring, of course, and I started the Dead Space remake.
Yes, you said you were going to. I was going to ask. That was on my list.
It is so fantastic.
Even though you can see Isaac's face now?
I don't care. He has voice lines too, but give it to me all. I don't care. The game looks incredible. I'm playing it in surround sound, so you know the sounds and the creaky ship and the necromorphs, you know, chattering about and just like scared. Dude, I've been scared so many times. I hate jump scares in movies. I don't really like horror games, with one exception, Dead Space. I love it in these games. 10 out of 10. I'm probably quarter of the way through the game so far. Incredible. They've added so much new stuff too. There's like new side missions and stuff you can do. Like legitimate side missions. So good. Looks incredible.
That's awesome.
The only thing I don't love, I don't want to admit this. Don't love playing it on a Sony controller. It's those middle sticks, man. When I'm playing a shooter, I like the offset sticks like on the Xbox controller. Yeah, I know. You win. Point for Matt.
We need to talk offline.
Yeah, I guess. I'm just going to get railroaded if we do that. I'm going to try to avoid that conversation at all costs.
My connection. I'm losing my connection.
I've only been reading one thing.
Revival.
DC versus Vampires.
Good for you. I need to get on.
I'm cranking this thing out.
You're on fire.
I just found out who the king of the vampires is. Bit of a curveball. And if I'm being honest, felt a little lazy, and I'm teetering on whether or not I bother to finish it, to be honest. Like, exposed some pretty glaring plot not holes, but like there's some things that happened prior to this reveal that you're like, there's no way that would have happened that way if this person was the king of the vampires.
Gotcha.
Kind of annoying. It was like a B movie reveal.
Mm.
I'll probably keep going with it, but
little CW-ish.
maybe.
Which
Hopefully
might
they
be-
redeem themselves in the
which-
final 6 issues or 4
which
issues,
might
however
be
many
it.
I have left. That's
Which
it, man.
might-
That's all I've been doing. Like I've been super busy the last few weeks with work and stuff, so I haven't been playing and reading too much. Varied from the last time.
All right. What I've been reading and playing.
You probably have examples and dissertations and summaries ready to go.
I don't know if I have all that. I do have a little vocal number.
You have a what?
Little vocal number for you.
Oh, okay.
The
hell is that?
That is my rendition of that God of War theme.
Don't quit your day job.
Echoes of an old life. Dave, God of War 2018. Oh my goodness. I beat God of War this weekend. This game, like, this was like one hell of an arc. It went from like an above average game to like a 10 out of 10. The back half of that game for anyone, once you get to the back half of that game, it does not let up, and it goes really fast, and you're going to get addicted to it. And like, I went from that game being a 8.5 to it being a 10, and I was like, I want to start a new game plus now. Like, that's how into that game I got. You were so right about it. I'm honestly glad I waited to play it on PS5 with the 60 frames a second.
Yes.
Like, I'm really glad that I didn't play it on PS4.
Me too.
So I've been talking to that one professor at my job a lot, and he's been talking to me about Ragnarok, and like, I'm gonna give it some time to breathe. I'm not jumping into that right away because he's like, it's a lot longer. He's like, you don't want to rush it.
It's like 30 or 40 hours.
Yeah,
the base story from what I hear.
I'm gonna probably push that one off for a little bit. So that game is phenomenal. I recommend it to anyone who hasn't played it. If you were a fan of the previous series, there are some payoffs there, and I think you'll really enjoy it. So God of War is definitely on the list. Comics wise, finished up, and I got the cover of the one that looks like our boy Sean. I finished.
That looks exactly like him.
It does, right?
Yeah.
I finished Public Domain. I had talked about it a while ago. I stressed that I thought it was like one of the most important comic books that I've read in regards to creator rights, understanding all that stuff, and it really, really delivered. The One Son, I talked about it previously. Like, the creator's dad he just loves these properties being out there, people enjoying them. And then the one son is like, there's two sons, the guy who looks on the cover, and then the other son, he's really pushing for his dad to fight for the rights of these characters he's made. Kind of mild spoiler in just issue 2. Like, you find out part of the reason the son is fighting so hard is because he has some severe gambling debt. So that's why he really is really pushing hard. So like, that's just one piece of it, but Zdarsky just kills it. It ends in a very good spot. I don't know if there will be a continuation. I kind of hope there is, but if not, I'm cool with it also just being, a 5-issue series, and it kind of is what it is. So that was really good. Second thing I've been catching up on a lot. I've just been playing a lot of. Turn my camera off. I've just been playing a lot of God of War. So second thing I've read, more Power Rangers straight up.
I'm behind again on the Power Rangers.
No, I'm not going to talk about it. No Turtles this time. I did read that issue.
You can talk about it. I'm just behind.
I read that issue, which is 103 and 104, so I'm like current on the series there. But I started the series over at the beginning. I never read the series. I started the series at the beginning, and I'm on issue number 5. And I know you never like watched the series, Dave, but I know you you know who the Green Ranger is, you know who Tommy Oliver is. Obviously, everyone knows that.
Yep.
The art is like really good. which obviously keeps me drawn in. But like we've been talking about how good this series is, and other people as well too, about treating this property correctly. And issue number 5, which I read last night, which was kind of like just a one-off story. Um, it talks about Zach, so there you go,
Mhm.
honing back to our previous conversation. But like Tommy, obviously, if you know anything about Power Rangers, Tommy's the Green Ranger. He gets mind controlled by Rita, and he is the Green Ranger. The story with Zach actually takes place like a month or so prior to that, and you find out through like a retcon that Rita ultimately originally wanted Zach to be the Green Ranger, and she like is plotting against using a Zach, because Zach is like Jason's sidekick and Jason's like is the leader. Like she's pretty much just like, yeah, like you should be, you know, you're just as good as Jason. Why aren't you the leader? And like really tries to use that against him. And there's some really compelling conversations that are coming from like this ridiculously cheesy, corny property that was, just a little kids cartoon, but like the comic is so good. And like the first 4 issues of it, it delves a lot into Tommy's psychology, where like Rita is still in his head, and the series picks up after after Tommy is the Green Ranger, like after that whole Green with Evil saga from the show. So like it is a continuation of that period, and it's just so good. Like it, if you're not a Power Rangers guy, I'm telling you, these comics are really good and very well written. So, and like I
It's
said, I'm a
true.
Power Rangers fan. I'm not the biggest Power Rangers fan. I'm not like I like the OG, the OG Power Rangers. I watched a little bit and I bounced in and out, but like I'm not like a crazy guy. I'm crazy for these comics though. Like they're really good. So I'm really really enjoying them. And then the last media thing that I'm participating in,
Media thing that you're participating in?
the
What a
last
weird
me
phrase.
the mass media thing I'm participating in, I'm just dabbling now into another game after I beat God of War. Like I played a little Final Fantasy VII remake. That is totally a game for me, but I need to play something a little bit shorter before I jump into that,
Hmm.
because I got a new kid coming. That's Final Fantasy is going to be my game for probably 6 months. So I want to play something before I get into that and start that grind. And one of my friends was really, really beating me up about a certain game that I needed to play, and I've been pushing it off, almost like a Creed recommendation, something that has been told to me that I need to pay attention. You need to get to it someday. Dave, I started Guardians of the Galaxy.
Let's go. It's
Dude,
so good. It's not that short, but it's good.
when I booted up the menu screen and I heard everybody wants to rule the world in the 80, and then it's like him on the the tape player, and it goes to the next song, and it's another 80s song and another banger. Dude, I'm in. I
Such a good
started.
game.
I didn't play too much of it. I remote played at work and played a little bit at work. I played some last night. I'm gonna play a little bit tonight. The combat, from what I've heard, because it's by Square Enix, and this
Hmm.
was another reason I kind of wanted to intentionally play it. Um, the professor at work, like the Final Fantasy engine is kind of based off of this, so that combat and Guardians kind of like builds me to Final Fantasy a little bit. But
Okay.
like
All right. I like that
it's
strategy.
really, yeah, like it's real cool. uh I'm very early on, and there's just like some little green creatures that like attack you, these little green
Yeah.
guys, and like I'm just imagining one of the greatest intros to a movie. Come and get your love, when Star Lord's punting those things. I was just punting those things and shooting them, and they're just reminding me of that movie. Um, if you're a crazy Guardians MCU fan, there's a little bit of, obviously these are different characters. There's different interpretations.
Gamerverse.
It's a gamerverse, but I think it's close enough. He's not
Yep.
as funny as Batista, but he's still funny. He says some
I
funny
appreciate that he's not
lines.
as funny as Batista because I don't need Drax to be the
Yeah,
comic relief. I really don't. I need him to be a cold-blooded killer like he is in the comics or was in the comics.
video watchers, you see that hate in that man's eye. He got real quick.
Yeah,
We got back to basics. But
you did.
no, man, I'm really enjoying it. So
I'm
I
stoked,
I
man.
like the
I'm glad you're playing
combat,
it.
and we'll get there. So
one last plug for me. If you, I've already talked about it in this episode and in past episodes. If you're not watching The Last of Us, what are you doing? If you've played the games, and you
Playing
haven't
Guardians,
watched the
that's what I'm
show
doing.
yet, you're really stupid. Not to be rude,
Whoa,
but like
whoa.
you're stupid. If you love the games and you're not watching the show, you've made a huge error. You need to rectify it. The show is incredible. People that have never even heard of it, there are people that don't even know it's based on a video game. They just think it's a fantastic show. That's how good this show is. It's transcendent. It's not just a video game adaptation. It is a legitimate, excellent show.
Happy Black History Month. I'm one of the stupid people. So.
You don't count. I know why you aren't watching it.
Yeah, if I wasn't preparing every moment of my
Yeah,
life
you
for
don't-
this
you don't have
incoming
time.
child, I would be
You don't
I
have
would be
time.
definitely
You get
watching
a
The Last
pass.
of Us.
You get a pass.
I will definitely watch that show.
Also, you need to play the second game before you watch the show. In my opinion, I think you should.
yeah.
But we're at that point where it's time to say goodbye. And this is also the point where I remind everybody that our Twitter handles are linked in the description of this video or audio episode. And if you like what you see or hear, give us a thumbs up, like the video, like the podcast, give us a 5-star rating, share it on your Instagram story or Twitter or somewhere. Share it somewhere because we need your help. If you like us, help us find more people like you that will like us. Our end goal is to be liked. So help us be liked. Next week, I think we're running it back on Invincible. We're going to talk about our next 2 parts of our year-long Invincible story arc of conversations about Invincible. That wasn't eloquent, but sometimes I am. Maybe I will be next week. Until then, I'm Dave.
And I'm Matt.
Take care, everybody.
Peace.